The Weber 3236 progressive carburetor is the most popular choice for replacing the factory carb. It strikes a balance between price, reliability, improved drivability, and a potential bump in fuel economy and power. The standard Weber kit includes the carb, a compact air cleaner, mounting plate and adapter, gaskets, a length of replacement fuel line, PCV hose barb, and a plethora of other hardware that you may require for your installation. The kit includes some basic installation instructions since it is not application specific. Let's take a look at some key points for a successful install on your 20R or 22R powered Toyota. We'll start with points that are general on a stock intake manifold. Once you've removed all the factory parts, start with cleaning the mounting surfaces. Remove the EGR valve and the crossover pipe, and install the EGR block plate on the cylinder head. The kit includes a mounting plate and hose barb for your rear PCV. It installs where the EGR crossover tube was mounted. When you're ready to mount the carb, start with the adapter plate gasket, the adapter plate, the gasket between the adapter plate and the mounting plate, the mounting plate, then the gasket between the mounting plate and the carb. You'll note that the linkage bracket installed from the factory won't work with your Toyota. The kit includes an additional bracket that you'll need to swap out. Bend the tab washer and loosen the nut to remove the bracket. Replace the bracket in the configuration shown. When replacing the nut, only hand tighten. Tightening too far can cause the linkage to bind. Be sure to bend the tab washer back to lock it in place. When you're ready to set the idle speed, open the choke plates and cycle the linkage completely till it clicks. Once you release it, the choke plate should stay open. You'll note that the idle set screw is now making contact with the linkage. To power your electric choke, you can either get the 12-volt source from the sensor that you would have removed from underneath your intake, or you can use any 12-volt switched source. You'll want to retain your brake booster vacuum line, which will either be found to the back of the intake just from the center, or you can connect it to the octopus that comes off the center of the intake on any available port. When installing the air cleaner, start with the gasket. You'll note that the base plate has a hole in it. This is for the front vent. You can either use the included plug or the hose barb. The hose barb will allow you to connect a hose to the stock location. If you're going to use a hose barb, make sure it's oriented towards the vent at the front of the valve cover. In some cases, you may find that you have a clearance issue with your thermostat housing and the fuel inlet. Simply loosen the fuel inlet pipe and the plug on the other side and swap the locations. When installing the recommended fuel pressure regulator, start with the feed from your fuel pump to the inlet of the regulator, then out of the regulator into the carburetor. To make sure your pressure is set correctly, use our inline T-fitting and fuel gauge kit. Run a line from the output on the regulator into the T, then out of the T into the inlet on the carb. Connect your gauge to the port on the fitting to test your pressure. We recommend you mount the regulator on the chassis side of the engine bay, for example on the fender well. This will isolate the regulator from some of the vibration. On the passenger side of the carb, facing the fender, you'll find two vacuum connections. The forwardmost will feed the vacuum advance on your distributor. The rearward can be used to connect your charcoal canister if you have one. Be sure to unscrew the plug on that connection before you use it. Let's take a look at some Offenhauser specific tips. Due to clearance issues with the intake manifold, the heater hose connection needs to be removed and blocked off on the cylinder head. Note that also you need to install a block plate on the passenger side of the back of the timing chain cover. Before mounting the carb on the Offenhauser manifold, set the carb and take a look at the linkage geometry. The line coming from the bell crank assembly will either be straight in line or the carb will be a half an inch too low. If it's low, use the half-inch riser blade to correct this. Jump on our website or give us a call to learn more about how you can improve the performance and reliability of your Toyota from the people specializing in them since 1985. LC Engineering Performance Toyota.